The fourth elements of faith, the twofold profound conviction.
Ah, excellent. You can go to the book, The Meaning of Faith and Nembutsu, page 39. 39, yes, in the English version. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Shall we start with the fourth element?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay, dear friends. So, as we were studying like 2 weeks ago, and the elements of faith are 8, and we have studied until the third element. And the fourth element of faith is to have the twofold profound conviction, or Nishu Jinshin in Japanese. This twofold profound conviction is basically, I will read it here verbatim from the text itself. It says, first, to know that we are people of deep karmic limitations, incapable of attaining Buddhahood through our own power. And second, to know that only Amida Buddha can save us through his vow power, other power, without asking anything from us. So this is can be summarized in saying that when we are completely 100% sure that we cannot attain enlightenment in this life through our own efforts, and we are absolutely sure that we cannot, then we can accept from that moment, then when we accept that we are sinners, yes, liable or very, in peril or in danger of falling even to the lower realms of samsara, then we can accept Amida Buddha's helping hand. And what we cannot do, Amida Buddha can do, okay? Then we are ready to accept Amida Buddha's helping hand, and we accept that through his vow power, through the power of the primal vow, through his transcendental merits, we can attain, okay, enlightenment, which is something that we most certainly cannot attain on our self-power, okay? So this is something to ponder upon, something to reflect. Then I will read the beautiful and clear passage of Master Shantao as quoted by Master Shinran in the Kyogyo Shinsho in chapter 3. He says, Master Shantao quoted by Master Shinran, he says, the deep mind is deep and trusting faith. It has two aspects. First, to believe deeply and unwaveringly that we are actually ordinary beings of karmic evil, subject to birth and death, ever sinking and ever transmigrating in samsara since innumerable kalpas ago, without a chance to escape from it. Second, to believe deeply and unwaveringly that the 48 vows of Amida Buddha enfold sentient beings, enabling them to board his vow power and attain birth in the Pure Land. Okay? There are two aspects concerning this mind of trust, then says Shinran. The first is to believe oneself to be a foolish being of defiled karma, subject to birth and death, from incalculable kalpas past, constantly sinking and constantly churning, without any condition that could lead to liberation. The second is to believe deeply and decisively that since one does not doubt that Amida's 48 vows grasp sentient beings, one rides on the power of that vow and will without fail attain birth in the Pure Land. Then furthermore, it says here, Shinran, to be free of self-power, having entrusted oneself to the other power of the primal vow, this is faith alone. Faith alone also means that nothing is placed equal with the Shinjin of other power, for it is the working of the universal primal vow. And this is also from Shinran, from Notes on the Essentials of Faith Alone. Okay. So what can we conclude from these passages? Basically, that when we recognize the dangerous situation in which we are, in which we deeply consider what our true spiritual capacities are, okay? And remember that the training in Buddhism, in self-power, is to develop wisdom, morality, and meditation, okay? And not only to develop it, but to bring those three aspects of the practice to its perfection. We also have the 6 paramitas: wisdom, compassion, effort, diligence, and so on and so forth, okay? Can we use these practices to attain enlightenment? So in our case, we look at our morality, and we have to truly ask ourselves this. Can we lead a very perfect and clean and pure Buddhist moral life? We cannot, okay? Can we develop wisdom? If we cannot develop morality, we cannot develop wisdom. If we cannot develop wisdom, forget about meditation, you see? So it's very easy to see that we cannot practice the self-power path for the vast majority of us or ordinary sentient beings. And actually, it is said that since we live in the age of Mapo, or the last Dharma age in which we now live since the past 1,000 years, yes, curiously, when Shinran and Honen were teaching more around that time, the last Dharma age began. It is said in the sacred text that all beings who try to practice self-power practices in this era will fail to attain enlightenment, and they will not attain enlightenment. Okay, even Shinran goes as far as saying that it is actually ridiculous just to consider that we, the defiled sentient beings in this last Dharma age, can attain anything in our spiritual life. Yes, it is actually very easy even for us to fall into the three lower realms of samsara, let alone speaking about arhatship, let alone even speaking about anuttara samyak sambodhi or Buddhahood. Okay, we can't forget about that. So when we are completely sure, and it's actually very clear that we don't have even the capacity to attain birth in the higher realms of samsara, let alone talking about the levels of sainthood, bodhisattvahood, or even Buddhahood, is a galaxies away from us, then when we are absolutely sure that we cannot attain this, and we see ourselves as sinners, we see ourselves as limited sentient beings trapped in samsara, then we are ready to say, okay, so what shall we do now? Then you entrust yourself to Amida Buddha completely, and you realize that what you cannot do, Amida Buddha can do for you. Okay, it is the same way as Josho Sensei puts in his simple examples. Imagine that your car is broken. You don't know anything about mechanics. Yeah, the engine doesn't work. You don't know even how a light bulb works. You are completely screwed. You are completely, you don't have any knowledge about mechanics. So what shall you do? But you take it to a professional. You take it to a mechanic. In this case, Amida Buddha is like the mechanic of our situation. In this case, it's not a broken car, but it's our situation in samsara. We cannot be liberated from samsara with our own self-power. So we go to Amida Buddha. Yeah? And Amida Buddha can do what we cannot do. This is the twofold profound conviction. To see ourselves as evil sentient beings and have been transmigrating in samsara despite our best efforts, and sometimes even without effort, just because we are evil and blind. And when we are 100% sure that we cannot attain enlightenment through our own self-power in this life, okay, then we are ready to accept Amida Buddha's helping hand, which is his primal vow. Okay. Actually, I will read here from Josho Sensei, who summarizes these passages that I have just read from Master Shinran and Master Shantao. Yes, he says, a follower of the primal vow abandons any idea that he can transfer some personal merits towards birth in the Pure Land or enlightenment, and relies entirely on Amida Buddha's transference of merit. He knows that any so-called personal merits are delusional, and only Amida Buddha's merits are true and effective for his salvation. Okay, so we have to distinguish. Yes, and I really invite you to read the great article called "The Difference Between Transcendental Merits and Mundane Merits," because sometimes people confuse creating positive karma in a samsaric way, like, for example, I don't know, giving money to the poor, or trying to be a nice guy, or I don't know, trying to do things that are actually even recommended in the sacred text that everybody should do. However, these are not transcendental merits, because remember that positive and negative karma are still part of samsara. Okay, there are many places where you can be born and be a good person. The gods have tremendous goodness, tremendous virtue, discipline. They even know how to meditate. So what makes karma transcendental? It is the karma of practicing the Dharma with a pure heart. This is very, very difficult, because it's not only to practice mundane good deeds, okay, which are good in a mundane way, yes. However, this is not a practice or a karma that is done for the purpose of liberating yourself from samsara and attaining enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Okay, so this is the difference between defiled karmic merits that are mundane, are stained by the ego, okay, and the difference between dharmakara bodhisattvas, attainment of supreme karmic merits that are transcendental and pure because they are the product of perfect Buddhist practice during countless eons, okay? So this is like undefiled karmic richness, yes, pure energy, yes, pure karma, that Dharmakara Bodhisattva, and transcendental above all, that Dharmakara Bodhisattva, when he became Amida Buddha, he became rich in these transcendental merits. And now these transcendental merits, yes, which didn't come from the, like magic, no? Dharmakara Bodhisattva had to work countless lives for these transcendental merits. He's now dedicating those merits to us, okay? And these transcendental merits are perfect and capable of bringing us to Amida Buddha's Pure Land, where we will surely attain enlightenment, okay? This is very different from the defiled or imperfect merits that we can create in samsara. We do something good here, something good there, maybe we do something, but still we have egocentric attachment, yes? We see this all the time. Many people, even billionaires nowadays, I don't know, even these guys from Silicon Valley in California, some of them, they have lots of money and they give lots of money to Africa, yes? To poor places in the Middle East or Latin America or whatever. So they donate money to lots of charities. But just you know that they are not completely sincere because then they post their selfie on Facebook. Oh, look at me, you know, I'm a good guy, you know. This happens a lot, yes, here in my country as well. Many people have lots of wealth, many singers or rap figures or famous sports people that are famous in Europe. They come here and they donate money, but they also do it with some kind of selfishness, even it's a little bit. So this is what is an example of a mundane merit that is also imperfect, okay? So even that is imperfect. And also practicing the Dharma with not all your heart, but also combine it with your own ego. So imperfect Dharma practice is also ineffective towards bringing you out of samsara, okay? So there is a big difference between transcendental merits of Amida Buddha and our imperfect mundane merits and our imperfect Dharma practice, which doesn't cause a powerful karma that is able to liberate us from samsara. Another way that we can explain it is that imagine like a rocket, you know, a rocket requires lots of fuel, you know, to exit the pull of the gravity of the earth, okay? So the rocket needs lots of power to exit the gravitational pull of the earth. So you need tons and tons of gas, yes, and fuel, yes, lots of power, yes? In our case, the power that we have is like a baby trying to jump, you know? We cannot exit the gravitational pull of samsara, yes? But Amida Buddha is like a rocket, and he has enough power to break free from samsara's magnetic pull or the gravitational pull towards even the lower realms, yes? It is said in the sutras that all sentient beings, like, they feel very much attracted to evil karma because this is very easy to do. And it's very difficult to cultivate positive karma, even on a mundane sense, even on wanting to be born in the higher realms of samsara. This is itself is difficult and very rare. So we could compare Amida Buddha's primal vow, his transference of merits, to a rocket with great capacity to exit samsara, and we can go there. So instead of a baby jumping, we jump on this rocket and we go straight to the Pure Land, because it is not our merits that are causing this, but Amida Buddha's pure merits that are causing us to be born in Amida Buddha's Pure Land. I will read here another passage from Shinran Shonin, and he says, whether with regard to the cause or its fruition, there is nothing whatever that has not been fulfilled through Amida Tathagata's directing of virtue to beings out of the pure vow mind. Because the cause is pure, the fruit is also pure. Reflect on this, yes? It's very rare for Shinran to say this directly to disciples. Reflect on this. Why we should reflect this? It's because the cause is pure, the fruit is also pure. What does this mean? It means, yeah, that we are born in the Pure Land because we have the karma transferred to us by Amida Buddha himself. So the cause of attaining enlightenment in Amida Buddha's Pure Land is Shinjin, and Shinjin comes from Amida Buddha. So the cause is Shinjin, and the fruit is also pure in the Pure Land, the center of the Pure Land, which is enlightenment. Okay. Whereas if we have, for instance, mixed faith, yes, like those who practice according to the 19th and 20th vow, which are also valuable and effective ways to be born in the, not in the center, but in the borderland, you don't go straight to the borderland because you don't have a cause that is pure, because your heart doesn't have a Shinjin, okay? So you are still mixing your devotion towards Amida Buddha with self-powered practices and self-power mentalities, yeah? Like the more you recite the name, the more chances you have to go to the Pure Land, or the greater good deeds that I do to save a life, to be vegetarian, to practice precepts and meditation, the more chances or the higher I will go in the Pure Land in the nine lotus grades that are mentioned in the Contemplation Sutra, okay? And rightly so, because this is their mentality. This is the way that Amida Buddha has decided to save them. However, they don't have this pure cause, yes, because they believe that some percentage, even 1%, is them and not Amida Buddha, okay? But in our case, as followers of the 18th vow or the primal vow, the cause is pure because we believe, as the twofold profound conviction explained by Master Shantao, that we have absolutely zero, a very big 0%, yes, in the process of going to the Pure Land. We know that we go 100% because of Amida Buddha. So our cause is pure because Shinjin comes from Amida Buddha, is our complete reliance on Amida Buddha. So the fruit is also pure. When we go to the Pure Land,
yes, so the cause of our attainment of birth in the Pure Land is Amida Buddha himself, because Amida Buddha is pure, and Amida Buddha is the cause of our birth in the Pure Land. Then our birth in the Pure Land is certain. Yes, we are carried to the Pure Land by the karmic power of Amida Buddha, and we can, if the Pure Land was the effect of our own karma, then we could naturally go there whenever we wish. But because it is Amida's enlightened realm, because the Pure Land is Amida's enlightened realm, we can reach it only through Amida's power. We can go to the Pure Land due to the power of the creator of the Pure Land, of the owner of the Pure Land. That's, yes, it's very important. Thank you, Kosho.
Yes, indeed, Sensei, thank you. Yes, indeed, Amida Buddha is the creator of the vehicle, the creator of the destination, and he also gives us the ticket for free and the fuel and everything, okay? So he takes care of everything. The only thing we have to do is to accept, yes? Yeah, okay? So it's very important for us to have this simple mentality, okay? Amida Buddha is in his car, something like this. He says, okay, jump right in, I will take you to the Pure Land. You say, okay, yes, thank you, dear Amida Buddha, Nam Amida Buddha. That's the only thing we have to do, okay? This is the path of acceptance, the path of accepting the offer of Amida Buddha. So yes, indeed, because the cause is pure, the fruit is also pure. Reflect on this. So we should do as Shinran Shonin suggested. We should reflect on this very much, because actually this is the key of Jodo Shinshu approach to being born in the Pure Land. Okay. Then I will read a passage from Yosho Sensei in which he explains this. He says, this is why we should keep up the idea of deserving, deserving to be born in the Pure Land. Our so-called good karma has nothing in common with the Pure Land. It is extremely important to understand that the bridge to the Pure Land comes from the Pure Land, and it is Amida's creation and manifestation. We simply cannot create something in our samsaric and unenlightened mind that can bring us to the Pure Land of enlightenment, okay? And this is, of course, true. We are unenlightened beings, so everything that our mind produces are mental poisons, yes? Because we are ordinary beings also filled with all kinds of karmic evil. So how can an unenlightened mind reach the realm of enlightenment, okay? This is very important, especially if we are not practicing any, we don't have the capacity to practice any of the methods of self-power. So we are not doing anything to purify. We don't have the capacity to do it. So what are we going to do? So we rely on the enlightened power of Amida Buddha, and we rely completely on his method. So since we are not designing, we are not the designers of the Pure Land, we are also not the designers of the method to arrive there. So we should follow the instructions of the creator of the Pure Land, okay? In this sense, the only thing we have to do is to listen to the primal vow and follow it thoroughly, yes, without mixing it with our unenlightened ideas, okay? So the true land of bliss is said here by Shinran Shonin in the chapter 4 of the Jodo Shinshu. He says, the true land of bliss is extremely easy to go to, yeah, because one can attain birth there through the vow power, yeah. It is stated in the hymns in praise of Amida Buddha, composed by Master Tan Luan, and this is Master Shinran quote, the Master Tan Luan. He says, all beings having heard Amida Buddha's virtuous name attain joyful faith, rejoice in what they hear, and call his name even once. The person of sincerity, Amida, endows merit to them, or in other words, gives merit to those people. All who aspire for birth attain birth in the Pure Land. Hence, I prostrate myself to worship him and aspire to be born there. If not for the Buddha's directing of virtue, how could we realize enlightenment in the Pure Land? So this is Shinran Shonin, like asking himself, okay? If it weren't for Amida Buddha's giving us his transcendental merits, how could we go to the Pure Land? We don't have the capacity even to be born in the higher realms of samsara. We don't have the capacity to practice. So what business do we have in the Pure Land? If it weren't that the creator of the Pure Land had the capacity to take us there himself, okay? This is the only thing that matters, is the merit transference of Amida Buddha. This is why one of the trademarks of Jodo Shinshu is that we never think that we have merit to dedicate to Amida Buddha. Yes, actually it's completely the opposite. It is Amida Buddha who dedicates merit to us. Yes, this is a very different mentality to many other Pure Land schools in which they constantly talk about dedicating merits. Oh yeah, you do this good, so you have to dedicate this merit, and you have like a bank account. Like imagine like a bank account in the Pure Land, and this increases every time you do a good deed, so you have more chances to go to the Pure Land. This is very much the implied mentality in many of the Chinese schools. Not all of them, but many of them have this mentality of like a karmic bank account. In our case, we discard this mentality and we realize that it's the opposite. It is Amida Buddha who is dedicating his transcendental merits to us. So we don't have anything to dedicate ourselves towards bearing the Pure Land. Okay. Honen Shonin says something that is very important, this passage. Yes. Because he talks about the influence of malevolent spirits. Yes, he says, if you think that birth in the Pure Land is possible through your own efforts, you will become consumed with conceit, and you are with the conceit that you are wise. When you possess this heart of conceit, you will not be in accord with the primal vow, and you will lose the protection of Amida Buddha as well as that of other Buddhas. You are ultimately haunted by malevolent spirits. I here repeat, be vigilant indeed against conceit. In other words, pride. Yes, we cannot believe that some people have more chances to go to the Pure Land because they are good, you know, or believe that we go to the Pure Land because we are wise. Yes, this is, I think, in my opinion, one of the great problems of people who practice according to the 19th and 20th vow. It's not that the 19th and 20th vow are not good. It's good for that mentality. However, many of those who practice accumulating lots of merits and do good deeds, many of them could fall into the trap of pride. Yes, to believe that they go to the Pure Land because they are wise. They go to the Pure Land because they have a good karma, and they start to forget about Amida Buddha and start to use the name of Amida Buddha for selfish purposes. Yes, or to attain, I don't know, good luck in life, or money, or health. Yes, you would not believe the kind of things that you see in many temples nowadays in China and Taiwan, that they very much treat the name of Amida Buddha as a mantra for bringing good luck to your family as well. I am not saying that the name of Amida doesn't have lots of blessings. It most certainly does, but we shouldn't forget the primal vow. Amida Buddha is promising us escaping from samsara and attaining enlightenment. He doesn't want us to have fun in samsara. He doesn't want us to increase our conditions inside a samsaric realm that is preventing us from attaining Buddhahood. What Amida Buddha wants us to do is to entrust ourselves to him, say his name, and wish to be born in the Pure Land for the attainment of enlightenment. Okay? Okay? Nothing less than that. And we shouldn't, confuse our birth in the Pure Land with some kind of, we shouldn't take the birth of the Pure Land, and we shouldn't compare it with mundane merits that, of course, are very inferior, yes, are actually delusional, yes, compared to birth in the Pure Land. And also, we shouldn't have pride that our karmic merits have nothing in common with Amida Buddha's directing of virtue. We go to Amida Buddha's, as Yosho Sensei says, because of Amida Buddha, not because of ourselves. If we believe that we go to the Pure Land because we are so good, yes, then there is no need for us to have the primal vow, because the primal vow is precisely for people who recognize themselves as sinners. Yes, if you don't recognize yourself as a sinner, then you are not ready to accept Amida Buddha's helping hand. Yes, because instead of accepting the transcendental merits of Amida Buddha, you will put yourself first, and you will try to concentrate on yourself and not in Amida Buddha. Yes, this is a way in which you can never receive Shinjin with this attitude. You have to be humble, recognize yourself as a sinner, and accept the transcendental merits that are dedicated to you. Okay, and not the other way around. Okay, I don't know if maybe Yosho Sensei or any of you friends have something else to add or a question before I go to the other element.
You know, nowadays, as we all know, Buddhist magazines, internet, and various websites on the internet are filled with this idea that you can become a Buddha here and now, that you can attain Buddhahood or enlightenment here and now. You know, like Buddhism is all about attaining enlightenment and Buddhahood here and now. But we remember Shinran Shonin, who said in Tanisho, it's a very important passage, I quote, "Do those who speak of realizing enlightenment while in this bodily existence manifest various accommodated bodies or nirmanakayas, possess the Buddha's 32 features and 80 marks, and preach the Dharma to benefit beings like Shakyamuni. It is this that is what is meant by realizing enlightenment in this life." And many don't seem to remember that Buddhahood or attaining enlightenment actually means that you attain the three bodies of you have immediate access to ultimate Dharmakaya beyond everything. You can manifest a glorious Sambhogakaya or transcendent body. Also be able in the same time to be all over the various samsaric universes in Nirmanakaya manifestations. That is what is meant by attaining Buddhahood. Also, it means that you know the source of all beings in all worlds, and you are able to help each one according to their specific level of understanding. You know, you can also see and hear all sentient beings, and you know all their past lives, as well as the many possible developments in the never-ending future for them. That's what it means to become a Buddha. So not just people in front of you, but all beings all over the samsaric universe. You know them. You know what they think. You know what every cell in their body is doing in the same time, you know. So, and it also means that you can go everywhere in one instant. You can be in the human realm and also in the same time go to teach various gods in their respective realms. Also, it means that you can master all practices, all Dharma gates, and all profound teachings, and you are able to teach them without any effort. So, and you have immense, infinite supernatural capacities, you know, myriad enlightened qualities. So, this is what is meant to attain enlightenment. You know, so now you can see how far from enlightenment are all those guys who smiling monks and smiling Buddhist practitioners that always talk about peace and love and so on, how far they are from true enlightenment. And what we in Jodo Shinshu do is a very decent attitude. We have a very decent attitude. we realize that we can't attain enlightenment because we heard, we read what Buddhas taught about real enlightenment. And we know when we compare ourselves as we are with the capacities of a Buddha, we realize we can't be like that. So it's normal to entrust to Amida Buddha. There's nothing special in this. Just a simple knowing, a simple acceptance, a humble attitude when we compare ourselves with the Buddhas.
You know, once I was in watching a conference of a Tibetan abbess, and she was reading a text by Nagarjuna speaking about the Bhumis, and I overheard many of the capacities of these Bhumis, and they had like, I don't know, like hundreds of samadhis, hundreds of even not counted as Makayas, but at least like they could divide their bodies up to 200. So they have many skillful things. I heard them and I thought they were speaking about the Buddha, but actually she only told us it was the first Bhumi, and I was like, oh wow! I mean, this is incredible. I mean, even the first Bhumi sounds so far away from us, let alone the 10th Bhumi or Buddhahood. So it's so deep, it's so far away, as you say, Sensei. Yes. So we should be very humble and have this decent attitude of saying, okay, we cannot attain this. It's impossible. Yes.
Humble, it's natural to be humble. About this. Yes, Joshi.
Josho Sensei, you talked about all these smiling monks. If you ever try to have a conversation with one of these smiling Buddhists who are so enlightened and so well meditated, they don't go very deep. That's my own personal experience. And for us, we don't claim to go very deep. We don't pretend to know anything, but we go directly to the source. The source is Amitabha Buddha. We don't use a bunch of euphemistic phrases of mindfulness and the sound of one hand clapping and all this other stuff. We admit that we aren't good Buddhists, and we get our merits from Amitabha Buddha, and we entrust in Amitabha Buddha. And a lot of people find that boring. They want endless labyrinth pathways of mystical, esoteric teachings. And yet that doesn't solve the problem of this Saha realm. It's Amitabha Buddha, and it's a devotional connection to him as a real Buddha. But a lot of people aren't going to accept it because it doesn't sound mysterious or spooky woo enough. It's not impressive to people who want to stoke their egos by saying, yes, I've done this, that, and yes, I've attained this and that samadhi. We have it and we know it.
You know, many nowadays teachers don't actually teach to their students what it is to be a Buddha. They distort the teaching, the Buddhist teaching, and say that, oh, Buddha was just a realized human being, or he was a good person, you know. But actually, Buddha was not a human being. The state of a Buddha is beyond humans and gods. When Buddha was asked if he was a human being, he said, no, I'm not a human being, because the causes that made me to be a human being were extinguished. The causes of him being a god were extinguished. So know me or as a Buddha. This is what Buddha said in the Dona Sutta. It is recorded, such a passage. So people don't like to teach nowadays to their students what actually is a Buddha. We have many passages in the Lotus Sutra and various sutras where Buddha actually describes himself as being supreme among all gods, to be the father, the loving father of all beings. Father not in the sense of creator, but father in the sense that he really loves all beings like a father. See? So they don't talk about, many people don't know what a Buddha is because they don't read, or they are not properly taught by their teachers. Because their own teachers are not religious. You know, they try to transform Buddhism into some kind of atheist philosophy for
I
feeling
had
good.
a Zen teacher at a Zen temple I went to, and I'm not disparaging Zen, but I'm saying, I said, how do we as Buddhists view Jesus? And he said, oh, we as Buddhists view Jesus as a bodhisattva. And we, you know, that shows, you know, a lot of people who are Buddhists, they have no concept of what Buddhism is and refuge vows and how these Buddhists, true Buddhists, surpass all gods, spirits, beings, humans, and devas. They surpass all. They are in a class by themselves. You can't just lump a bunch of spiritual leaders together and say, oh, well, these are all bodhisattvas or Buddhas, because
Oh,
hey,
if Jesus was indeed a Buddhist monk, then he was surely kicked out of the sangha, because he was a very bad monk. I mean, he was a very ignorant Buddhist monk. Why? Because he believed in a creator God. He thought about, he considered that his father is the creator of all beings. He was very much deluded. So he could not be accepted as a Buddhist monk. That is certain. And a true bodhisattva teaches Buddhist teachings. In whatever forms he teaches, he only teaches the Dharma. A bodhisattva cannot teach teachings that go against the Buddha Dharma, like the idea of a creator God and so on. It's impossible. Yes.
You know, I also wanted to add that something that Daigan Sensei had told me that was very helpful for him, because he used to practice Soto Zen, as also Yosho Sensei did in the past, and he told me that you know, he didn't see it. He just didn't see that he was deluded, that he was actually thinking about enlightenment, and he just kept practicing. But when he met Amida Buddha and he started to pray to Amida Buddha, he started to see himself in a different light. Yes. And Yosho Sensei has also given this beautiful analogy of a room that is in the darkness, and you put like a lighter and you don't see much. But if you put like a very industrial light and you see every spot in the house, so you begin to see the rats, the spider webs and all of this. So when you entrust yourself to a real living Buddha, then you start to see yourself as you truly are, as a real evil being. You start to see all your shortcomings. Okay, so I think that in part, this is also lack of reading the sutras and having devotion towards the sutras, but also because they don't have a relationship with Amida Buddha or with a real enlightened Buddha. And they, since they don't see a real light in front of them, that it's very easy for them to, they don't have anything to compare themselves with. But if we truly have devotion towards Amida Buddha, we truly know how an enlightened being works, yes, and what power they have. So we start to see ourselves as real small and real dependent on the Buddhas, and we should never compare ourselves towards the Buddhas in that sense. Yes, that we are indeed in our case, we don't have the capacity to see our Buddha nature now, and we see that Amida Buddha has already discovered this Buddha nature, and we most certainly need his help to become enlightened, you know?
Yes. I have I will put a link into the description of this video for an article which is called "Never Say Amida Buddha is the Same with the So-Called God of Monotheists or with any other divine figure outside the Buddha Dharma." And there you can see a collection. At the end of this article, you can see a collection of various passages from sutras. For example, the Lotus Sutra. The Buddha is the father of the world. All living beings are my sons. All is my domain, and I alone am able to save and protect them. This is what Buddha said about himself as a Buddha. And so it's not just a realized human being, you know, it's not just a nice human being or a good human being. No, he's a Buddha. And he also says about his powers in the Majjhima Nikaya. The blessed one, spiritual powers. Having been one, he becomes many. Having been many, he becomes one. He appears and vanishes. He goes unhindered through a wall, through an enclosure, through a mountain, as through space. He dives in and out of the earth as though it were water. He walks on water without sinking as though it was earth. Seated cross-legged, he travels in space like a bird. With his hand, he touches and strokes the moon and sun, so powerful and mighty. He wields bodily mastery even as far as the Brahma world. And many, you should also go to the book, to a special chapter dedicated to the powers of a Buddha in my book, The Simple Teachings on Emptiness and Buddha Nature. And you can read there about the 10 powers of a Buddha and many others, infinite supreme qualities, which are described in detail. So, yes, so the Pure Land is not here and now, because if the Pure Land was here and now, then we would be enlightened. Okay, and if we were enlightened, we had all these supernal qualities. So those who say that the Pure Land is here and now, they don't know about what they are talking. You know, they are either ignorant or evil in their intentions.
I think they think that the Buddhahood is just psychological, but actually Buddhahood also has many powers. I mean, it's to be powerful also to be a Buddha. Have many powers.
Yeah. He said about himself, the Lord Buddha is the Holy Lord, King among gods. You know, he is the eye of all living beings, the resort of all the world, savior of all, father of all living, who has compassion for and does good to all. This is how Shakyamuni talked about himself, you know, in a very extraordinary manner, you know, because he was the Buddha. He was not just a mere human being. If we talk like this, then we are crazy. But he was a Buddha and he could talk like this. He could describe himself like this, because he knew that if people have devotion and faith in him, then they can receive great merit, which can save them from samsara. That is why, not because Buddha was arrogant. No, because arrogance doesn't exist in the mind of an enlightened one, but because he knew that people can be helped by entrusting to him. This is also the reason why he accepted alms. He was asked, why you as the Buddha accept alms? He could go on without eating, but he accepted alms because he said that he is a field of merit for all beings. So giving him one small bread, that is an immense karmic merit for those who give, or just an apple. This is why I encourage people, even if they don't have faith, to offer fruit or water to Amida Buddha. You know, if you do that, you are actually giving to Amida Buddha a fruit and water, and then your mind becomes more open towards Amida Buddha. This is why we could receive Shinjin in this life and we were open towards Amida Buddha, because in our past lives we did offerings to the Buddhas. You know, that's why. And we were devotional.